I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. No public comment. Did you have a chance to read the minutes from last week?
Yes, I see no changes, Mr. Chairman.
You make a motion then?
I make a motion to approve, Mr. President.
And I'll second that. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Pass 2-0. Commissioner comments and committee reports.
I have none.
I don't either. I was going to go to that meeting at Seneca last night, and things got away from me. It sounded more like it was a, no, not propaganda, but inside the wind power industry more than after I kind of reread it. So I didn't know how much it would pertain to us or not.
From what I understand, that meeting was mostly an executive session where their board met with their council and went over a proposed road agreement. So you're talking about the county commission meeting?
No, this was a meeting with kind of a wind power conglomerate. Nextera was part of it, and it was how local governments interact with wind power and transmission lines in that industry. So, okay, so it seems like I have. We've got a PO here for road and bridge for purchase of culverts. The vendor is J&J Drainage Products, and the amount of $35,992.65. He was here this morning and asked us, do you have any questions on this?
I make a motion we approve it.
And I'll second that. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Pass 2-0. Is there any other new business before the board? Any old or unfinished business? County councilor updates.
A couple things. One, there's a resolution concerning the tax sale. That each tax sale has to be authorized by the Board of County Commissioners. So we're ready to file this week. There's still polishing up a few things for it, but I printed it, but I left it over in the clerk's office. Can you read it, or do you want to? It's just
let's go ahead, and we've got plenty of time.
Right. The resolution number 2020 and if adopted -1462, a resolution by the Board of County Commissioners of Atchison County, Kansas, concerning judicial foreclosure and sale of real estate tax liens. Whereas K.S.A. 79-1801 at SEC sets forth the procedure by which a county must levy real property taxes, and K.S.A. 79-2001 at SEC controls the collections of said taxes. And whereas pursuant to K.S.A. 79-2301 at SEC, if real property taxes are not timely paid and proper notice has been provided, the county will acquire the real property for which the taxes are unpaid in a delinquent tax sale for the amount of the taxes owed. And whereas numerous parcels of real estate have been sold and bid by the county at delinquent tax sales and have remained unredeemed on the first day of September of the second or third year after such sale. And whereas numerous parcels of real estate containing an abandoned building or structure which has been unoccupied for a period of at least 1 year have been sold and bid by the county at delinquent tax sales and have remained unredeemed on the first day of September of the year after such sale. And whereas the aggregate assessed valuation of all such real estate subject to sale in the boundaries of Atchison County, Kansas is more than $10,000. And whereas the legislature has passed laws providing for the foreclosure of tax liens and the sale of real property in order to assist in the collection of delinquent taxes. Now therefore be it resolved as follows. Number one, that judicial foreclosure and sale of such liens shall be conducted. 2, the County Councilor of Atchison County, Kansas is hereby authorized and directed to prepare the necessary petition or petitions in order to effectuate judicial foreclosure of any real property which has been sold to the county for taxes and which has remained unredeemed as provided for in K.S.A. 79-2801. 3, this resolution shall be effective upon adoption. Adopted by the Board of County Commissioners of Atchison County, Kansas, this 11th day of February 2020. Signed, Eric Knoll, Vice Chairman, and attest Michelle Phillips, Atchison County Clerk. So I can go get the original of that for your signature, but I would request that you consider adopting that resolution.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
And I'll second that. All in favor say aye. Aye. Pass 2-0.
I have the other matter involves the NextEra wind energy.
You wanted to act for that, didn't you?
No, I don't think so. Just to bring you up to date on, we have, after the meeting last week, I did send an email to each of the townships that are involved, and I have been in communication with the attorneys representing NextEra, and I am of the opinion that the townships, because they are the owners of the roads primarily that will be used for the project, need to be part of the agreement before we could sign off on it. So I've reached out to by email all 3 of the affected townships and have talked on the telephone to at least one member of each of the 3 boards about it. The NextEra's attorneys agreed to, in principle, all of the things that I had proposed in response to the earlier draft of the agreement, and they also agreed that the townships ought to be a part of things. Nemaha County also operates under the county township road system, whereas Jackson County does not, and so I'm wanting to see their agreement, which I thought maybe was going to be finalized yesterday, but it was not. But that's, as I mentioned earlier, there was a meeting with the county commission, and the part about the NextEra was mostly an executive session having to deal with discussions with their attorney about the proposed agreement. So within the next week, we'll still be working on trying to get an agreement that's acceptable to both the county and the townships and NextEra finished and perhaps brought to you next week for approval. But we're still working on that, just to let you know.
Okay, now when the townships, if they have to agree to that, they'll have to pass that in their meeting, and they have a meeting once a month. Is that going to take a month to get them to sign off? Or
they can call special meetings, and none of the 3 of them have had anyone request notice of special meetings, and so they don't have to give a lot of notice to call a special meeting, because there isn't anyone that's really entitled to notice, and there's no requirement to be published in a newspaper or anything like that. and it's going to be for a limited purpose of considering and approving an agreement.
Okay.
That said, I would want to have, I think the draft of the agreement would be to them, certainly in enough time for them to read it and ask questions and to discuss it before they're being asked to sign off and approve the agreement. But if it takes, if they want to wait till their next regular meeting, most of those I think take place in the second half of the month. That's fine. It will have to take that long then. So we're not under any particular time crunch. K.S.A seems to be interested in getting it done sooner, but that's, I mean, they understand we need to make sure that we're adequately protected. So if it takes that long, it takes that long.
Do you have any further questions? If you don't mind me skipping back to the tax sale, is there any estimated time of when that would take place?
Well, I'm going to file it this week. I think we did the calculations up to Friday on the amount that's owed. So likely be filed on Friday. And then it's a matter of getting service of process on all of the landowners. And to set a date and say this is the cutoff for it means that if we think we know where somebody is, but we haven't gotten them served, that we're just going to kick that parcel out, which I don't think is, I don't think it's the most efficient way to do things, although it does cut off about half of the questions that I get about.
That's what I was anticipating getting questions.
Yeah.
So when is it? Well, I mean,
Yeah.
it'll be when we get the process. You say serve and process? Is that the?
Well, yeah, service of process means the sheriff hands the landowner or the defendant in the action a summons and a copy of the petition. And then they have, depending on if they live in state, 21 days to file an answer. And if they're served out of state, then they have 30 days to file an answer. And we'd have to see when answers are filed. There aren't typically a lot of answers filed, but somebody could, I suppose, challenge the legitimacy of the tax that's been opposed or imposed, or claim that they had made a payment and that we hadn't credited, etc. So.
Okay. Nothing further than Pat?
No.
Any need for an executive session?
Not today, as far as I know.
With that, there's no other further business. Do I hear a motion to adjourn at 1:15?
I say move, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Pass 2-0. We are adjourned.